The goal isn't to scale endlessly for the sake of it. For most of the women I talk to, it's about building something that works, that's sustainable, that grows, yes, but actually feels like yours along the way. That's a different objective from the one the online business space tends to promote, and it requires a different kind of leadership to achieve. If you've been in business for a while and you've noticed a gap between the version of success that you are working towards and the version that would actually make your life feel the way that you want it to feel, then this video is for you. Maybe you've caught yourself measuring your business against someone else's numbers and feeling behind, even though if you stopped and thought about it, their definition of success isn't quite yours. Or maybe you're pushing hard towards a goal that, if you're honest, you inherited from the noise rather than chose. You're doing all of it, the visibility, the content, the offers, but there's a low hum underneath it that says, well, something isn't quite aligned. Not wrong exactly, it's just not quite your own. That's not confusion. It's what happens when you're building towards a version of success that was handed to you rather than one that you actually chose and defined for yourself. Given that the world that we live in values success metrics that many of us question, and increasingly so, it's definitely time to break that link. Hi there, I'm Lyndon. This channel is about entrepreneurial leadership for women in online business, what it actually takes to build a business that lasts and that reflects who you are. I've been in the online business space for coming up for 10 years now, so let's get into it. Last week, I talked about restarting my first business again, my eco-friendly stationery business, and what's different this time around. Specifically, that the business is essentially the same, but the owner, me, is different. And it's that difference that I want to take further in today's conversation because it points to something that is important not to miss about what we're actually building and why. The online business space has a default definition of success. It's loud, it's everywhere, and if you're not careful, it becomes the water that you're swimming in without ever having chosen it. More, faster, bigger, scale, the implication being that if you're not growing at a pace, you're falling behind. A slower, more steady pace is some sort of consolation prize for the people who couldn't manage the real thing. I got caught up in that too, but I want to offer a different view. Not because ambition's wrong, it isn't, and I've got plenty of it, but because I think the model is wrong. And more than that, I think it's costing talented, capable people businesses that they could have kept. Here's what I've come to understand then. Steady, coherent growth is not less impressive according to the metrics most of the business owners I know care about. It's just a different experience from the one painted in color by number marketing pictures. Most of the business owners I know value when the decisions being made are genuinely their own, when their effort builds on itself rather than getting interrupted every time something feels uncertain and they switch direction. Because growth that depends on external conditions staying the same is fragile. Growth that depends on the owner is something that you can actually rely on once you've developed the owner enough to be able to rely on them, that is. What a steady business requires then is not more tactics, not a better funnel, not a higher content volume. There are many external specifics that will help you achieve an external goal. Steady business requires an owner who can make clear decisions around that and who can stick to them. Someone who can assess what their business actually needs rather than grabbing on what the online space says it needs, because that will be many and varied. Someone who can move through challenges without losing the thread of what they're building and who measures their progress against their own direction rather than someone else's. That's a leadership issue and a leadership question, not a strategy one. And here's the practical reality of it. When an owner is reactive, making decisions from anxiety and switching approaches before they've had a chance to tell them anything, measuring themselves against external metrics that were never theirs in the first place, the effort doesn't build. Every period of work starts from roughly the same place as the last one, which is exhausting. And it's also why so many capable, hardworking business owners find themselves going round in circles rather than traveling the trajectory that they want to be on. The ability to stay grounded and not react from anxiety is not a personality trait that some people have and some people don't. It's a skill, and it's a skill that allows each decision to build on the last, each period of effort to produce something that the next period can stand upon. That's the difference between building and just having a lot of disparate pieces. So what changes when you intentionally decide that you are going to lead from that place, when you've built the owner alongside the business, rather than hoping the business will eventually produce the steadiness that you need? You still have ambitious goals, possibly even more ambitious ones, because they're actually yours now, rather than borrowed from someone else's vision board. And you move towards them differently. You're not chasing them, you're building. The decisions that you make come from your own thinking rather from the pressure of what's working for someone else this quarter. You can evaluate clearly rather than react. And when things are going well, you can recognize it and build on it rather than immediately raising the stakes, because good results can feel precarious too when you don't quite trust that you created them. Your business starts to feel not without challenge, but like it belongs to you and that you know how to lead it. That's a different feeling from the one that many people are experiencing underneath all the doing. And key shift then from this video is this: steadiness isn't a consolation prize for people who can't scale. It's a more sophisticated objective, and it's what makes everything else sustainable. Something worth sitting with then is, what is your actual definition of success for your business? And is it one that you chose? If you want 7 figures, 6 figures, 8 figures, fine, but why? We don't want to climb Everest just because it's there. We don't want that scenario, because that's when there's a mismatch between the business that you're building and the business owner that you want to be. And that mismatch is where a lot of the confusion and the pain comes from. Next week, we're going to be looking at something that I think is behind a lot of business inconsistency, and that's the gap between how you intend to show up in your business and how you actually behave when things get difficult. So, for example, you know you should back a decision once you've made it, but when a launch is quiet or a month is slower than you'd like, you find yourself rewriting your messaging or reconsidering your offer or looking for the thing that you must have got wrong. The intention was there, but the follow through under pressure wasn't. That gap is what next week's about, where it comes from and how to close it. If you're ready to take a practical step now, recalibrate your 30-day practice to confident decision making is where this work begins. It's for business owners who know business and know that more strategy isn't what they need right now. The link to more information is in the description. And if this channel is giving you a different way to be thinking about your business, subscribe so that you don't miss what's coming next. I'll speak to you next week, but in the meantime, leave me a like on your way out the door if this chat was helpful, and drop a comment letting me know how you measure success. I would love to hear from you. Bye for now.